Everyone, should I say good afternoon? This is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Yeah, and we're talking about baseball. Yeah, wonderful baseball that has taken place through the ages. And of course, today we're talking about things that happened on January the 25th, and of course, this is the January 25th, 2026 edition of This Day in African American Baseball History. Hey, and this is part of an ongoing conversation that I'm having with you to talk about Black baseball history. And in these times, these are conversations that must be had. These are conversations that we must engage in and things that we can learn from so that this history never dies. And this is a part of American history that takes place all over the country. It's in newspapers, it comes from interviews that I've had, and I just want to continue to educate you. So if you like these kinds of broadcasts, go ahead and subscribe. And once again, it's Phil Dixon, and I'm here on a beautiful day, a beautiful afternoon day of a lot of other activities going on. So if anybody is willing to join me, I certainly appreciate that because I don't take your support for granted. So I am an author with over 42 years of background in searching Negro League baseball related topics. Of course, I am a baseball fan first and foremost. And so I know a lot about Major League Baseball and those guys. Well, actually, sometimes I don't even like to use the term Major League Baseball, but we'll just say American National League Baseball. So, all right. So we don't want to waste a lot of your time. I usually try to get in and out of here in about 20 minutes. And so we get pretty close. So if you're joining me, just go ahead and um, put in your place that you're joining me from. Okay, the city or state, whichever one you feel most comfortable with. All right. So let's get ready to go to work, and let's see if anything I need to do. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with January 25th, 1904. The African American Reliance team lost a 14-7 game to the Fresno Tigers in the inaugural baseball game of the year at Fresno, California. So, guys, starting in California now, I've been talking about California Winter League quite a bit. So, the Fresno team has gotten to work, and the African American Reliance team. You're going to have to look up some of these teams to learn more about them. Of course, we know about the teams in the Negro National, Negro American League, and some of the teams that were strong independents before there was even a league in 1920. And of course, we talk about other opportunities they had to try to form leagues. But there's certainly a lot of information out there to be learned. All right. So you might find this fact pretty interesting. This is January the 25th, 1904. Bud Fowler, working in tandem with the Fidelity Amusement Association out of East St. Louis, Illinois, has leased the grounds and local grounds and made plans to build a grandstand as soon as the weather permits. The players now signed. He had gone out and signed a list of really good superstars. Some of them you'll recognize the name from for years to come. One of them is Bill Gatewood. He signed him out of San Antonio, Texas. Roland Griffin out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Frank Taylor out of Richmond, Virginia. Henry Lavin out of Louisville, Kentucky. Robert Boone out of Oxford, Mississippi. Graham Pender out of Baltimore, Maryland. James Soter out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Ray Smith out of Carmi, Carmi, Illinois. And then Mark Anderson out of East St. Louis, Illinois. William Franklin out of Buffalo, New York. And Ed Watkins. I got that spelled wrong, so W-A-T. Watkins out of Columbus, Ohio. Wow. And that's a lineup. And you kind of wonder, how did Bud Fowler know about all these players? Because you notice there's about maybe 6 states represented in this list here, and he's organizing the team in East St. Louis, Illinois. So, but Bud Fowler is probably one of the most traveled baseball players that we had from that generation. And he knew where good baseball players were, and he was always trying to bring them together, such as he did with the Page Friends Giants when he helped organize that team. But this is a team he's going to try to bring to St. Louis East St. Louis, Illinois. I don't know if you've ever been there. Interesting town, especially later on. And I can talk about that. Or maybe I might have to talk about it in a future broadcast because it's that much going on in that St. Louis area around that time. I will tell you this. A couple of those players ended up being pretty big time. So Bill Gatewood, who he said was from San Antonio, yeah, he was a prominent pitcher and manager of Negro League teams for many years. I remember talking to Jimmy Crutchfield, and Gatewood was down in Moberly, Missouri, and that's how he ended up getting to the Birmingham Black Barons because Gatewood was down there. Of course, Gatewood ended up passing away in Columbia, Missouri, because that's where the regional hospital was, but he was actually last living in Moberly, Missouri, and I've been down there to speak, and that is the hometown of Leroy Matlock as well as Jimmy Crutchfield. So good little area in there. So and they played for the Gatewood Browns, and I did interview Mr. Brown as well. Also Gatewood. He pitched the first no-hitter in Negro National League history in 1921 on June the 6th. So he ended up being quite the contributor to Negro League history. Then also Roland Griffin, and he also went by AKA Leonard Griffin, and he was from Indianapolis, Indiana. And if you look around 1907, 1908, he had some historic battles with Andrew Rue Foster, who was at that time with the Chicago Leland Giants. So that was Griffin. And then, of course, the last one I might mention is Boone. Boone, and this was Boone. He said from Oxford, Mississippi. Now, what's interesting about Boone? Boone actually died in Kansas City, Missouri, and of course, he played with many teams: the San Antonio Black Broncos. Then he ended up with the Oklahoma Monarchs. Later on, he ended up with the Kansas City, Kansas Giants too, the Kansas City Royal Giants. And this is all around 1911, 1912. And he passed away in Kansas City, Missouri, and he's buried at the, I think, Blue Ridge Cemetery. And there's a number of people buried right in there. I think, if I'm correct, I think Bullet Rogan might be buried in that same cemetery. So that was Mr. Boone. And so these are guys that he's talking about in 1904 that I had the opportunity to know more about through the later years. Hey, Boone also served as an umpire in the Negro National League in the late 1940s, early 1950s, all right? So that just gives you a little bit about Bud Fowler. I had the pleasure of about March of last year going to where he's buried in New York, and I was able to leave some flowers there. Outstanding ancestor who gave much to the game of baseball. And because of people like Bud Fowler, I'm here today talking about this history. So we can never forget Bud Fowler. And I will post a picture when I released it on probably on my Twitter. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, you can go out there and follow me. I'm at Negro League Man. And let's see. Somebody, I'm going to get rid of you because here's the thing. In this climate out here, guys, it's time to take history serious, right? So I'm going to just remove you. And guys, don't ever come back because you know what? What we're talking about is too important for the foolishness that you're engaged with. This is America, guys, and America needs to stand up for the freedoms and all the people who participated in this great democracy. And so when I'm talking about these Negro League baseball players, this is serious business to me. If it's not to you, please go away. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's see, January 25th, 1914. Let's see, where do I want to go with this? Let me see if I can figure out where to go. Okay, Josh Johnson, catcher for the Cincinnati Tigers and Homestead Grays, is born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And Josh, I had the pleasure of meeting Josh. Josh was in Springfield, Illinois, and I was coming from Chicago, me and my wife at that time, and we decided that we were going to stop and visit Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson was an academic, was on the school board, Springfield, Illinois. A great man. I do have his business card somewhere around here. Just an interesting fella. And this is showing you these guys didn't just play baseball. They were participants in every aspect of American society. And that's Mr. Josh Johnson. I don't know if you ever heard of Josh Johnson, but look him up. An outstanding individual that you need to know about. All right. How about this? We'll keep it rolling. How about January 25th? Cumberland Posey and his team, the Leonde basketball greats, they slaughtered the New York American Legion 5 at Pittsburgh's Union Labor Temple by a 67-33 score, and Posey dropped in 5 baskets for 10 points for the victory. And of course, Cumberland Posey was the owner of the Homestead Grays. You've probably heard of that team because they had some outstanding players. A couple of them in the Hall of Fame, actually a bunch of them in the Hall of Fame, and some more need to be there. So you got Smokey Joe Williams and Josh Gibson, of course, and Buck Leonard. You got Ray Brown, Judd Wilson, who played for him. But guys, we're missing George Scales. He was on the 31 Grays. He should be in that Hall of Fame. And then also the legendary Vic Harris. Vic Harris should be there too. Dorothy Harris, Vic's wife, was a big booster of mine. And I learned a lot from her about Vic. And I've been trying to be a salesman for his credibility of being a Hall of Fame eligible person. And this guy is going to be better than some of the players that are already in Hall of Fame. And believe me, that's white and black. That's Vic Harris, Elander Victor Harris. Yeah, so all those guys were part of what Cumberland Posey put together for the Homestead Grays. But Cumberland Posey is one of the few people, and I've stated this many times because I talk about how great a basketball player he was, but he's in the Naismith Basketball Memorial Hall of Fame in Springfield, Illinois, as well as in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. He's the only one that can make that distinction. How about that? All right. So let's keep it going. How about this one? You know, baseball players are always doing something, especially in the off season. So it's a report in the McAllister, Oklahoma News Capital reported that Eugene Davis, now he wasn't a baseball player, but he shouted, "I'll kill you yet, I'll kill you when I get out of the penitentiary." And those words were heard by the county attorney, Frank Watson, following Edwards' arrest for shooting at Gus Davis. And Gus Davis was the manager of the McAllister, Oklahoma Gold Devils baseball team and manager of an East Side pool hall. And armed with a .45 caliber pistol, Davis shot 4 times but missed every time as the Gold Devils manager managed to escape. And the shooter will be back in court within a week. I'm going to have to follow up on this one and give you a little more information about that. So if anybody's joining me and you're hanging in here, go ahead and subscribe and be sure and come on back because I'm laying it down, guys. I'm laying it down. Information like you don't get anywhere else. I'm just going to be bold and just tell you that statement, all right? Okay, so we're going to keep it rolling. January the 25th, 1945, J.L. Wilkinson went on record saying Negro major leagues will play baseball this summer if any organized baseball makes the tough manpower grade ahead of it. So that means that if the National American League can play, then the Negro League can play. So, but that should not be the way it was. It should have been who's ever contributing the most to the nation. And the Negro Leagues contributed a lot because they traveled a lot. And they took baseball, which was America's #1 sport, to communities all over America. Something kind of different from what was happening in the American National League. So, and he also offered that Satchel Paige, who was well past the Army age, had been ill all of this winter with stomach ailments. Of course, this is 1945. You know, Satchel Paige recovered from that. Okay, he also mentioned that Negro League Baseball is down in its greatest attendance. So actually, 1942, 43, 44 had better attendance. And he was kind of looking for a disappointment in 1945. And in closing, he stated, last year the Monarchs fielded a team with a few 4Fs, and that's somebody who didn't qualify for the military, a playing manager, and 2 men over 40, and some youngsters. All right. So who do you think was over 40? Actually, there were 3 guys over 40 on this team. So if you want to take a guess, I'll give you at least two of the names, and then we'll come back. So I'm going to go to my last statement, and then I'll come back and give you at least two of the names. Okay? Okay. So, and it wasn't Satchel Paige. How about that? So here we go. Thursday, January 25th, 1951. This is my last feat of the day. The Philadelphia American League Athletics announced the signing of African American scout William Judy Johnson. And I had the pleasure of interviewing Judy Johnson many times, and he signed quite a few things for me. Some of the 1924 World Series prints. I don't know, anyone have a World Series print, that 1924 World Series print signed by Judy Johnson? I have several. I may put them up for auction real soon because I have several, and maybe somebody else would like to own one of those. So that was William Judy Johnson. Boy, I could tell you a lot about him. I will tell you this, though. His daughter was married to Billy Bruton. So he was Billy Bruton's father-in-law. William Judy Johnson, who is a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, someone I had the pleasure of talking to. Now, I've also had the pleasure of talking to J.L. Wilkinson's grandson. Yeah, and his name is Lee, and I just saw him recently at an event. I need to give him a phone call. I have his number, and maybe we're going to work out something to continue to get recognition for J.L. Wilkinson. So, in closing, guys, I said that there were at least three guys who played for the Kansas City Monarchs who were past age 40 in 1945. And this is J.L. Wilkinson talking about it. Well, first of all, his playing manager was Frank Duncan. And Frank Duncan is one of the players who was past age 45. Actually, past age 40, I'll put it that way. And the other person past age 40 would be Newton Henry Allen. And I had the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen, yeah. He lived on Park Avenue here in Kansas City, Missouri. I had the pleasure of interviewing him. Interviewed his wife and his son, too. Interviewed his son as well. So all those people have passed away now, but just great memories of talking to them and helping to elevate the legacy of Newt Allen. Of course, Frank Duncan, I interviewed his son. Actually, I think it was 1941 that the father and the son played on the Kansas City Monarchs at the same time. Now, that's a feat. And I know when I was coming along, we saw Ken Griffey do that with his father. But that wasn't the first time it had happened. So in the Negro League, it happened several times. I know Willie Wells Jr. Played with his father, Willie Wells, and of course we mentioned Frank Duncan. It seems like there's somebody else too, and I'm just drawing a blank on that. But yeah, those were the two, and there was one more guy. He was a catcher. He was a catcher out of New Orleans, and he was past 40, and he caught a few games with the Kansas City Monarchs in 1944. So those were the three guys. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the third guy that were past the age of 40 who played on the Kansas City Monarchs that J.L. Wilkinson was referring to. So that's a little trivia for you. And that's a good place to stop there. So, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining who like these kind of broadcasts. Feel free to share this broadcast if you know somebody who's really a baseball fan and who wants to really get into something that's a little bit different than what you see on the baseball channel. I know they just finished with the greatest 100 baseball players currently playing. And they don't always do a lot in history, but when they do talk about history, it's usually talking about the same old people. You know, you probably get enough of Babe Ruth watching them, and they're going to talk about Ty Cobb. But guys, on this broadcast, you're going to hear about some people that you've never heard before, names that you've never heard before. Just history that is just good, strong history that should have been talked about, right? I'm just trying to see if there's, if I can see this. Okay, looks like I've already gotten rid of it off of here. I was trying to find that last guy's name, that catcher from New Orleans. I think his name was Roth, R-O-T-H. And he had come up in 1922 playing with the Milwaukee team under Pete Hill. So this guy goes way back, but he did catch a few games with the 1944 Kansas City Monarchs. They had to, well, keeping a team together in 1944 and 43 was a real job because the World War II took away some of the greatest ball players. All right. So, guys, that does it for me. I'm at 20 minutes and 11 seconds, and I think I'll get out here at 21 minutes. So, I want to thank you for joining me. And if you stay with me, or if you come back and pick up the broadcast later on, you happen to see me. If you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe, guys. We have a wonderful time here talking about baseball history that is rarely talked about. And that's what I do here. And I love it, and hopefully you love it too. And we'll keep this conversation going for as long as you want to hear it. So be sure and subscribe. And when you pick me up, if you later on, guys, come in and let me know where you're listening from, because that's going to always be important to me. And I look forward to meeting you. And hopefully when I'm out on tour, some of you guys, I'll get a chance to meet in person. So this is Phil Dixon, and this has been another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. And of course, this has been the January 25th edition of this ongoing conversation. So thank you, and you have a wonderful day, and enjoy seeing we're going to see who's going to go to the Super Bowl today. All right. Thank you. You have a nice day. Bye.